So the work in Chambers is really exciting. We're pretty much 50% traditional chancery and 50% commercial. And on the traditional chancery side, we do a lot of private wealth work, some trust work, both international and UK. And on the commercial side, it ranges from insolvency, commercial disputes and arbitration, right the way through to banking and pensions and financial services. We're involved in some of the largest cases in the world at the moment, which is fantastic to be a part of. And our pupils can one day be in a local county court and the next day they can be helping with a judicial review. In fact, one of our recent pupils has just been involved right from day one really in a Supreme Court case. I mean, how exciting is that to be part of that when you're training to be a barrister?
As part of the pupillage process, you will have the opportunity to build experience across Chambers' core practice areas, whether that's traditional chancery, commercial insolvency, or even pensions and financial services. You can ensure it will be a mixed bag of challenging and interesting work, and will give you a real insight into the practice areas you may wish to choose to focus on as you become more senior. We also regularly get opportunities for short-term secondments, either in-house with solicitors, which often includes offshore jurisdictions such as the Channel Islands or maybe even the Caribbean, but also opportunities closer to home, including government departments or financial institutions.
As much as it's important for us to find a future successful tenant, it's equally important for candidates that they feel that Radcliffe is somewhere in which they can really thrive. Culture is therefore essential, and I think that's what sets Radcliffe apart from many other chambers. It has an excellent professional reputation, but it's also a sociable and an inclusive place to work. For example, we have an open door policy, so if you have a question, you feel like you can go into anybody's rooms at any time and you can talk to them about it. We also have afternoon tea on a daily basis. We hold summer drinks and Christmas parties. We have events on the rooftop, and sometimes they're for clients, but also sometimes they're just for members and staff. All of these present perfect opportunities for you to build on and foster relationships, not only with other members of Chambers, but also with our professional clients. And in turn, that helps to create a friendly and cohesive environment.
I think one of the biggest myths is that pupillage is all about working long hours, and it's just not true. For example, our pupillage policy clearly says we only expect pupils to be in between the hours of 9 and 6. And your supervisor really will shoo you out the door if you try and stay any later. That's because this isn't designed to be a test of stamina. It's designed to be a process that allows you to develop your legal and commercial skills across the year. We work hard to ensure our pupils have a thorough legal training in all the areas of work that we do. For example, we always try to ensure that our pupils sit with supervisors whose practice areas focus on different elements of the work we do. For example, maybe a commercial chancery practitioner at the start, and then a more traditional chancery practitioner in the middle. On top of that, we ask our supervisors to maintain lists of all the types of work that each pupil has seen, to ensure that by the end of the year, all of the pupils have seen the full range of pleadings, advices, conferences that we would expect them to be able to do in their own legal work. Over the course of our pupillage year, our pupils will undertake our 10-step business development programme. This covers everything from giving talks to solicitors to using LinkedIn effectively. And the point of doing this is to ensure that when our pupils finish their pupillage, they're not just excellent lawyers, they're market-leading, commercially minded barristers.
So the aim of pupillage is to get a broad experience of all of Chambers' practice areas, and to that end, it's split into 2 6-month parts. In the first 6 months, you will sit with 2 different practitioners. One that's perhaps more traditional in terms of their practice, so traditional chancery wills, trusts and estates and property work, and the second will be more commercial chancery. So it will likely involve some insolvency work, some commercial work, and perhaps some pensions work. During the second 6 months, we still aim to sit our pupils with members who have different practices. However, things start to ramp up a little bit because during our second 6, our pupils start practicing on their own feet. So you can expect to go to court in county courts up and down the country, sometimes in the High Court, in the Rolls Building and the RCJ, and you start to take on your own matters. You bill and you earn money on those matters, and it's about getting more experience, so building on that experience you gained in your first 6 months and still getting that experience in your second 6 months, but getting a little bit more of a taste of what being a practicing barrister is all about, all the while under the supervision of your vastly more experienced pupil supervisor.
We ask candidates to prepare a CV and a covering letter because we think that provides the best opportunity for them to express themselves in a way that best puts their case forward. In terms of what we're looking for, there's no right way to prepare a covering letter, but equally it is actually quite difficult to draft something that is a good covering letter. Some points to think about would be as follows. Be aware of your punctuation and your grammar. Once you finish drafting the documents, leave them, go away, and then come back to them later on. It's therefore sometimes easier to spot grammatical typos and so forth if you're looking at a document afresh. Another thing to consider is make sure that you look at the criteria on our website and you're cross-referring to that when you're preparing your covering letter and CV. And finally, be careful that if you're including something in your documentation, we're probably going to ask you about it. So by way of an example, if you refer to a recent case that you've read, but you don't think you'll be confident asking questions about that case in an interview, then maybe don't highlight it within the documentation. We ask for the documents to be 2 pages each because part of being a good barrister is being able to distill vast amounts of information and put them in a more concise form. And that's what we're looking for when you're preparing your CV and covering letter. Nobody needs to read 20 pages. You should be able to distill all of that information into 2 pages each.
Really, they need to look at what we are trying to achieve. Really important to read our website, look at our YouTube channel, and read through all the documentation that we've produced. We're looking at candidates who want to be part of our future. We see our pupils as our future tenants, and indeed, I know this can be difficult, but I sometimes see them as our future silks.
We have 2 rounds of interviews as part of our pupillage assessment. In the first round, we ask candidates questions about their CV and some common commercial awareness type questions. These are designed to see how you think on your feet and how you present answers, skills that are really important in court. And in our second round, it's a bit more involved. We ask you some questions about the written work that we asked you to submit in advance. We also ask you to give a mock conference, as if you were advising some members of the panel on a legal problem, and again, we'll give you all the paperwork in advance. And we also ask you some common questions about problems that junior tenants might face in their early years. And this range of questions is designed to test all of the different skills that are necessary to be a good, commercially aware junior barrister. Between our first and second round interviews, we'll send candidates a short piece of written work to do. For example, this might be a short recent case, and we ask candidates to prepare a short note for their supervisor, summarising the case and applying it to a very short set of facts. Now, the purpose of this exercise is to test both your legal skills, but also importantly, your practical skills. Can you write a practical and workable note for your supervisor?
In terms of the business development programme, we've created a commercial awareness scheme, and that involves everything from training on social media to how to develop and build your practice. It can involve things such as learning how to do talks, writing articles, or it simply can be how to network and how to build those relationships on a one-to-one basis. We think it's fundamental as to how to be a successful barrister, and certainly for the last few years it's been working for us and for our pupils.
The Clerking team will provide you with full support with your individual practices. This will include regular practice review meetings to discuss the direction of your practice and how we might develop that. We'll also work with you on things like diary management, monitoring and managing your deadlines, and your case management levels more widely. We'll also look at opportunities and allocation of work. We'll discuss and set annual targets for you, and also help facilitate business development opportunities, both for you individually or as part of our wider practice teams.
We only recruit pupils who we think have the potential to become successful members of Chambers. We therefore don't make our pupils compete against one another, but also we only recruit the number of pupils that we need as new tenants. In terms of attributes, 2 things I would say would be intellect and commerciality. As regards intellect, the bar is a very intellectually challenging career. We're looking for you therefore to demonstrate your academic ability, not just in the application, but also during the interview process. And then in terms of commerciality, it's not just about the legal analysis. We want to see that you appreciate the commercial realities of the advice that you're giving to your client, because the commercial side of it is crucial to ensuring they have an overall route forward.
We also assess your persuasion skills and your credibility. For example, for persuasion, we look at things like mooting, debating, public speaking, and written work that you've done. And for credibility, we look at things like your part-time work or any position of responsibility you've had at university.
And commitment. We're looking for candidates who really want to be a part of these chambers, who really want to be a commercial chancery barrister, who are committed to a practice at the bar. That candidate will have the necessary drive to succeed in self-employed practice. And that's it. There's no Radcliffe Chambers type.
We look forward to receiving your application and learning more about you. We want to understand who you are and what obstacles you've overcome in order to apply to us. We can't wait to read all about you.